can you talk about the search for Kris and Lisanne on the Pianista Trail? Because there were some sketchy things that seemed to be going on with the people searching with Cineproc and the authorities in charge. Can you talk about the search and who was involved, areas
Yeah,
covered, and then if there seemed anything weird or off to you about the search?
yeah. You can tell us the Feliciano story, maybe, yeah, Annette.
Yeah. So um, the whole search was very chaotic. I would say. And so because Sinabrock and the guys from the police in Sinabrock, they have no experience in hiking in the jungle or searching the jungle. So they needed somebody who can lead them, an expert of the jungle. And that was Feliciano, the guide. That's the oldest and most experienced guide in Boquete, and his specialty is the Pianista Trail. And so they asked him to lead the search group, and he did. Um, and then at that point of the trail where the car can go to, but it's a car which drives up the trail has to stop in one
Mm,
point when the jungle begins. Maybe you remember there
mm,
is some paddocks and then the
yeah.
jungle begins, and a car cannot go further than this point. And so he walked with a search team of I think 4 or 5 people, and at that point, they were called back from the authorities because of, I don't remember the reason. I think they had to build um, and something for some politicians who arrived or something like that.
Mm.
So they were called back, and but it was very urgent to search the Pianista Trail because that was the 3rd of April, and you can you can expect that Kris and Lisanne were still alive. I mean, two days in the jungle, one can survive. So it was very urgent, but they were called back, and Feliciano thought, okay, but somebody has to go and search for them. And if nobody does it,
Yeah.
then I will do it. And so he went alone, and he had his backpack full of food. And so he went on, and he went to the Mirador and further into the jungle, like 2.5 kilometers further, but he didn't find them. So he went back when it got dark, and that was the only person who ever searched behind the Mirador. The official search teams never went behind the Mirador to search for them.
That's incredible. So no official Panamanian authority ever went beyond
Yeah.
the peak. They all just turned back.
But it's the most logical thing. Yeah. Two women go on a mountain and don't come back. So
Of course.
the first thing you would think is, okay, then they went down the other side.
Yeah.
So and nobody was looking then. And then in May, a Dutch dog team came to search for the girls, and they weren't allowed to go there. They said, "Oh, we have to go behind the Pianista, behind the mountain." But Panama said, "No, you're not allowed to." So even the Dutch weren't allowed to search there. And the first time they went there was when the rucksack was found in June. So
Mm.
this is
So over
unex
2 months later,
10 weeks later, yeah,
unexplainable.
and they didn't
10 weeks
hike.
later, yeah.
They
Unexplainable.
didn't hike to that place where the backpack was found. They flew with a
Yeah,
helicopter.
yeah.
So you cannot call that a search.
No, yeah. I mean, you're talking about a super dense jungle. You'll see a lot of treetops, but you're not gonna,
Yeah, but
I don't know how you would
yeah,
find people.
Yeah,
but what we know is that the private person searched
yeah.
behind. So it was Feliciano on the 3rd of April, and then there's this other guy Plinio, and he has a lot of friends, and he told Zinaprok, um, he first told them he saw Kris and Lisanne on the 1st of April on the Mirador, and then he asked Zinaprok if he would be allowed to search for them behind the Mirador with his friends. So a group of private people were about, I think, 7, 8 days in the jungle to search. But we do not know nothing because this is not written down. This was not no official search.
Hmm.
So
I have because you mentioned the search being called off at one point, and I have the excerpt of that part of the book where you describe it because it's very telling and fascinating. So you write 2 days had passed before anyone had even looked for Kris and Lisanne on the trail. Dead or alive, a perpetrator could have hidden both or one of the girls in the Mirador area and then taken them away from there in a camouflage vehicle at a prearranged time. In addition to M's estate, which I think it's a hut, like he has like a hut or some buildings on his property near the trail.
M.
M, the letter M,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
In addition to M's estate, there are other huts up there that, judging by the file, have not been searched. The area described so far on the upper Pianista Trail should have been turned upside down because of all these clues. Since
Yeah,
there is no such search, the question arises once again as to whether it is a coincidence that the Cineproc team received
yeah,
a call from the highest authority on April 3rd at the very intersection where they are heading to M and near which two girls are said to have been seen on April 2nd, whereupon the men immediately stop and turn around. That is a wild place to just stop a search when you're getting close to an area that has
yeah, yeah,
previous
yeah,
evidence.
yeah, yeah, yeah. This is another thing that there are huts close to the peak, close to the Mirador, and there are even huts on the other side. So the theoretical possibility that somebody had kidnapped Kris and Lisanne and um, held them in a hut, yeah,
Yeah.
um, it would.
It
Why
seems
not?
like if you're trying to, you know, keep the evidence to a minimum as the criminal, you
Yeah,
want to store someone somewhere. You don't want remains to be out in the
yeah,
open and then move them or,
yeah,
plant.
and why? I ask you why. The police and the prosecutor herself said to the media that they are absolutely convinced that a crime has happened. It was a murder investigation. Yeah, they were convinced for weeks. So why didn't they search all the suspicious things? The huts, the truck. Yeah, why didn't they go behind the Mirador? Um, Everything is so logical to do. Yeah,
Instead, they focus on searching the houses in town, and even somewhere further away, they focused on doing that without anything which pointed to
yeah.
to
I think they were convinced that Kris and Lisanne was kidnapped from the trail. Yeah, that
Mm.
they never had been behind the mountain.
mm,
Mm-mm.
So this is what I think.
So they were possibly convinced of a theory, and then because they had that theory in mind, they were only looking for evidence that supported it. They weren't looking other places.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And this is a fatal decision. Not only if a crime happened at the Pianista, but also if an accident happened there. So um, they weren't there to help
Yeah.
if an accident happened there because there was nobody professional to look for them.